Magdalene. Woman, no need to search any longer, the priestess of wealth. Woman, it is time to heal thyself.
Welcome, everyone. And thank you, Kathy and Dawn, for being with us. I'm going to leave this up to Kathy to introduce Dawn, because she knows a lot about Dawn because it's been her friend for many, many years. I don't know, 20 years or something like that, Kathy?
Longer.
So,
I think we've known
longer, maybe 30. We're going to talk about our ages, but Kathy, it's all yours.
Thank you. We are really excited to have you here, Dawn. I think that you have a really wonderful and unique perspective on how, as women, we can really find our sort of divine essence and let our authenticity lead us both in life and in business. And it's a really powerful message. Dawn Leonetti is really been around the block. She's worked for all of these major tech companies, Nike and Dolby and Microsoft, and has done so many different aspects of marketing and branding, but also started in the creative arts. And so really about finding our sort of core essence and our creativity. And so we're really thrilled and excited to have you here today, Dawn, and to talk just a little bit about, you know, as women, how do we sort of put ourselves into the world and really claim our truest and authentic self? So welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you both for such a warm welcome. I'm going to share my screen, so hold on one moment.
And just wait a minute.
So as Kathy said, I'm going to talk a little bit today about how to amplify your divine essence. And as she said, I've been doing branding for a very long time, too many years to say out loud. I've worked all over the world for all kinds of different companies doing branding, primarily for companies. But what we can apply to companies is just as important to apply to ourselves. Am I right? Yes, I mean, we really need to, in order to put ourselves out in a way that's meaningful and a light for others, we first need to tune into ourselves and really be, you know, identify with what's authentic within ourselves, what feels good. And we all know intuitively, as you do your goddess work and your divine essence work, we get sharper and sharper, as you will, at tuning in to what is true. And that is true with our own personal divine essence or our personal brand. I'll probably refer to it as both ways because both are equally true. So I'm going to dive right in. And before I do that, just in the spirit of branding and having fun, I'm going to put on a little cap, because I think sometimes it's fun to just, I also really want to encourage you to have fun with this. Sometimes we get way too serious and way too caught in the weeds. It's more authentic to actually be playful with this type of project. So we're going to start in a little playful mode, and we may change hats a few times, so bear with me. So just a little bit about me. Kathy gave me a great intro, and Kathy and I have gone way back, also met Effie before, so it's so nice to be with them today in the spirit of this beautiful summit. I come from a small shop called The Idea Assembly. It's my marketing and branding shop, and it's really about, in the spirit of, I'm an idea person. I've done branding and marketing for years, and it all comes down to being really thoughtful about your idea and how you put it out into the world, and really assembling it and executing it in the most graceful and exciting way possible. So that's what the Idea Assembly is about. And today, what we're going to talk about is branding through the divine feminine, how to really engage with this in your own discovery of your own authentic self, which I call your discovery dance, your development dance, how you develop that presence in the world. And then I'm going to give you some what we're calling divine essence fire starters, so that you're not kind of just stuck in a room meditating, trying to figure it all out without any sort of lifeline. So we're going to give you some lifelines to get started, some catalysts, and then a reminder on how to keep your brand essence, refresh it, renew it, because nothing is stagnant in this world. The world is changing constantly. You're evolving. And while your brand may always kind of stay true to at the core, it's always going to evolve and change a little bit. So you always kind of want to, every year or two, look at it, refresh it, and make sure you're being relevant to your audience at that particular time. And then we'll do we'll do a little moment of celebration as you dance forward. So as with everything in all of this work, I'm going to encourage you and myself just to let's take 3 deep breaths together to get into our most creative space, shall we? Okay, and first breath. All right, from there, let's move forward. So I talked a little bit about myself, so I don't need to go in detail here, but I've worked for a lot of exciting brands that's helped me prepare this presentation for you today, if you will. And where we're gonna start is where to get your dance started. So I thought this picture really applied to how you want to start, because really understanding your most authentic self and your divine essence comes from within. So this picture is beautiful. It's the woman and the sand and just the horizon. And it's all about being introspective and breathing, what we just did. Make sure you're always breathing. Whenever I'm not breathing, I'm not really connected to my authentic self. And we all know that. And it's very true. If you're going to if you're going to present yourself with your highest power and your highest authenticity, you've got to be in your breath and present and grounded. So that's really, what that's all about, the exercise that we just did. So the first phase of really becoming your authentic self is discovering your unique point of view. We all see the world. Sometimes the world is the same world. If we're in the same room, we have the same view in front of us, but we all see that view very differently. And so this slide is really about finding your view and finding the meaning and the beauty and the importance of your view, because your view is different than anyone else's. One of my favorite women in the whole world, Coco Chanel, has a great quote. So I thought we would start with that. In order to be irreplaceable, one must always be different. How true is that, right? I mean, if you're not different, if you don't stand out, how do you ever become a Martha Stewart or a Lady Gaga? Talk about really embracing your authenticity, right? Those are 2 women who live it every single day. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you tune into that and how you project that. I thought I would start with a funny story. So earlier in my career, when I was doing PR, and I was actually working for Nike at the time, and in the evenings I was learning how to DJ, and I was becoming a DJ, and I was not keen on merging those 2 worlds, if you will. I was really scared that in my daytime job of PR executive, if I said I was a club DJ, people wouldn't take me serious. And if I was in the club and I mentioned that I did PR for a living, I thought the other DJs wouldn't take me serious. Well, boy, was I wrong, because when I realized that there's the crossover there is really the spark, is really like kind of what made me unique. My whole world of authentic branding really opened up for me. So the way this started is I decided I needed a personal stylist. I don't know if anyone's ever gone to a personal stylist, but it's really a good experience, because they learn about you, who you are as a person authentically, what drives you, what your passions are, what colors you like, everything. And this stylist, she was French, so forgive my lousy French accent I'm about to do, but it really helps the story. She, when she questioned me about everything, she said, "Oh, DJ Pierre, you are DJ Pierre." So in one conversation with someone, I found the value in merging these two worlds together. You know, it's like peanut butter and chocolate. They're so much better together. And as I started talking to her, I really found my sense of style, because I'd always struggled with what I call a boring old suit, or you know, very conservative kind of lapels. I mean, today I'm kind of wearing my biker jacket, like in the spirit of that, and my Born to Rise shirt on the occasion for us ladies. But I always struggled with looking too conservative or too boring. And she really helped me understand that, no, that's best parts of me. The DJ part should be part of how I look every day. And so sure enough, we found outfits where I could go to work feeling really comfortable in both skins, as it were. So I think it's just kind of a good story, and it lends itself to what we're doing today, and to also really not be afraid of your idiosyncrasies, or maybe your quirks, or the thing that you want to hide the most is probably the thing you need to feature the most. That was my lesson. So how do we get started? So the discovery process, as you all know, is all about discovery. It's all about asking questions. So I thought I would lead this with a few of the questions, and then you're going to have a handout from me that will have a whole worksheet of questions to ask to really get to the core essence and authentic you that you want to express to the world and amplify to the world. So these are just some starter questions. You want to start asking, you know, what is your divine essence? Is it strong? Is it bold, like Wonder Woman here? If so, own that, you know, be that. How do you make it yours? What does Wonder Woman look like on you? Because it probably looks different on you. So how do you express it? How do you dress? How do you cut your hair? How do you move? Do you move with elegance? Do you move with confidence? You know, what is it about that essence that you want to project to the world? And how do you amplify it? And hot tip, authenticity, right? Just be authentic. The more authentic you are, the more light shines on you, and others can glean from you, which is your whole goal, to be able to share your gifts, your authenticity, and your power forces with the rest of the universe. That's why we're here. So then the next question really is asking why. And this is really important as well. Because why does it drive you? Why do you care? Why do you feel more comfortable when you are going in the direction that feels good to you? Whether it's to use the Martha Stewart reference, whether it's making your home more beautiful, or whether it's cooking the best meal for the people you love, or whether it's being a CEO at a big company. Why do you care? How does it improve the world or improve the people's lives around you? It's really important that you know that before you go out. That's what really helps you get to that core of authenticity of what's driving you. Otherwise, you're gonna be projecting something that doesn't feel quite right, or that doesn't feel like at the end of the day when you go home and you do your stretching and you do your yoga, you're just feeling not comfortable, not, you're not right. Something's not right unless you're driving towards something that is meaningful to you in your core. And then I threw the question, why does it need to be consistent in here? Just as a reminder, because no matter what we do, branding and personal branding as well needs to be consistent. Otherwise, it's confusing to our outside world, and then we don't really get our message across. If we're not consistent and we're not kind of stalwart about who we are, and we're changing it up on a daily basis, it's not going to read the same. People are going to get confused, and they're not going to be able to stick with you. Now, some people's brand may be to change. Maybe it's change. And I use Lady Gaga as an example. She's right? I mean, she could be wearing a meat dress one day and a pink tutu the next, but her brand is all about creativity. So her passion and her creativity are what comes through and what we see, and that's really important to her brand, and it works for her. So as long as you're authentic about whatever you do, if you're consistently changing as Lady Gaga is, then it works. So I really like this analogy of thinking of our brand, or how we create our brand, as it aligns with the divine flow of nature. And I believe firmly that everything we do in life, unless it aligns with nature, it's not going to work. You know, if you're trying to stand in front of a tornado and stop it single-handedly, and you're not Mother Nature, it's probably not going to end up too good for you. You probably want to get out of that flow. We always want to follow nature. And so when I think of branding, the great analogy is this beautiful tree, where you have the root base, which is the why, the source of you, of your authentic self, the reason you get out of bed every day, why you're driven, what's meaningful to you. And then the trunk, which is where you, in the discovery phase, you discover, you know, what color is your trunk? What is it? Is it smooth? Is it rough? Is it brown? Is it blue? What does it look like? And so on. And so you have your branches, which then become your messages and your infrastructure of if you will, of who you are and what you stand for and how you relay that. And then you have your leaves, your flowers, which you could think of as your content, what you put out, your blog, your podcast, how you extend your brand out into the world. And then of course your pollen and your seeds. And if you're living in your authentic self and you're able to execute in a way and amplify it in a way where you are dropping pollen and seeds all around you, then you are self-creating and growing your brand and spreading the meaning and soul of your brand, and therefore growing your base. And so that's how we think of it. So pollen and seeds could be something that you provide for an audience, whether it's a video like this, or something that brings them back into the fold, that keeps them with you, to help them create more, or to help them heal more, or learn more, whatever it is that your focus in life is. I think this is a beautiful analogy of that branding experience. So when we look at the flow, and we think about identifying the core and creating and amplifying, I just kind of wanted to put a little bit of architecture here for you, so you would have it as you move forward in your experience, and how it kind of relates to the tree. So we talked about how your divine essence and your core is your root, and your audience, the environment, the culture, the air, and how you relate to that air or that audience, or the bees that are flying around the tree, et cetera, et cetera. And so this just kind of gives you that kind of a diagram of where everything goes. And we'll go to the next slide. So as you get started to develop your divine essence, remember, have fun. I'm going to remind you here to have fun by like changing my hat. I think it's always good. This might be the theater person in me too, but it's always good to, like, you know, have fun, have some hats, have some things that get out of stuck mode by changing it up all the time. Throw everything up on a wall, all your words, and then narrow it down to the one that feels the best for you, right? So I like to be playful. I always have, like, I have my Elvis glasses here. I have my super cool DJ glasses. So just kind of use tools, incorporate them, and have fun with it. And as in terms of exercises, I like to really emphasize an exercise, which sounds easy, but it really isn't. It takes time. It's to find your word. What's your word? Those of you who saw Eat, Pray, Love might remember the scene where Elizabeth Gilbert is talking to her Italian friends in Italy, and they all have a word. And they've all figured out a word for each other. And her word is Oh, hopefully I don't ruin this. Attraversiamo, attraversiamo, I believe, which in Italian is to cross over. That was her word. And it really extended, I felt like, off the pages of that book that she wrote too, right, about crossing over into her authentic self. So I feel like my word comes from DJPR, which is dichotomy, right? Dichotomy of these two things that when they come together are that much stronger. So we all have a word. The word may change, it may not change, but you really want to get to the word that is your essence. I've worked with a lot of brands, you know, you end up with a word. I remember one of my favorite ones was a beer brand, a craft brew I worked with in Oregon many years ago. And their brand essence we came with was savor, which made perfect sense for the beer. It was beer that you just didn't want to glug down. You wanted to savor it and really enjoy the experience. So that's what we mean by getting it, kind of bubbling it up into one word. You also want to have at least 3 really solid adjectives, you know, and that's got to be your adjectives. Are you sparkly? Are you clumsy? Are you witty? Whatever those adjectives may be, you want to try to get down to 3 that you kind of stick to as your core, that these are kind of your foundation. They're your root source of your tree, of which everything else will stem from. So then we get to stylizing. You know, once you've kind of figured that out, how do you stylize? What feels right for you from a style? If a style or a mood, what type of style will you emulate? And then activating your brand, number 3. If you're in action, what would your divine essence do? You know, would it save all the baby seals? Would it take all the plastic bottles out of the ocean? Would it make the best bolognese in the world? You know, what is your mantra? What is your essence about? And then illustrating it, of course. I think even in our personal divine essence and how we interact with the world, you know, as I've demonstrated today, it's good to think about what that looks like. What kind of hat do you wear? How do you wear your hair? What kind of glasses? What kind of jewelry? As an example, I have a little over jewelry today because I have 2 brand statements of my own. I have a small D. My name is Dawn, and I always prefer a small D. So I usually have this necklace nearby. I also have a necklace that's little headphones for my DJ PR part. So just thinking about, you know, things that help you feel connected to who you are. So we said we were going to talk about some self-starters. So when you decide to take some time and meditate and sit with yourself, and you've kind of come up with some answers, some direction on which way you want to go, here's some ways to kind of start the practice of really culminating that into your final brand essence, divine essence. You really want to create a divine essence mood board. And I'm sure many of you are very, very familiar with creating mood boards. If not, they're a wonderful, playful activity, pulling, you know, pictures, words, and snipping them together and putting them on a beautiful tapestry of a board. That really helps you kind of lean into what your brand will look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, you know, make it as multi-sensory and as playful as you can. And that will help you that'll help you culminate also what colors your brand may look like. If your brand is floral, what kind of flower might it be, etc. You're also going to want to create a personal mission statement. And, you know, there's many different ways to do this. But one thing that I always like to stress is that when you feel like you have something to say and you know it's what you want to say to the world, say it out loud and say it by yourself in a room or off of in the forest by yourself. Say it out loud and see how it feels. Like really listen to how your body reacts. If your body doesn't feel right, then it's not your mission. And your body and your energy will tell you that. So that's really important to me. I always test out my mission statements that way. You really want to determine your brand essence in a word. So we already discussed that: dichotomy, savor, drench, whatever it is. And identify 3 adjectives, for example, sassy, wise, colorful. And then just for fun, and this may be for you something that you do just for fun, or it may be something that you do to help build your personal power, your personal presence within your ecosystem, within your family, within your friend group, within your client base, whatever the case may be. But identify 3 ways to amplify your personal brand that feel fun to you. Like if social media isn't your thing, by all means, don't do that. Maybe you're a writer. Maybe you want to write a blog, or you want to write a story or an essay on medium.com, but maybe use social media as an easy go-to for you. So create a social media presence that looks like your brand should look. You know, if it were me, it would be kind of that DJPR dichotomy kind of look and feel. But you really need to identify to you how you want to put your look and feel out there and how people react to you, and be consistent with it. So the next slide, refine and refresh. And I have this very dramatic photo here, but only to say that, you know, the world around us does change. Today, your world may be one thing, and tomorrow it may be raining and a totally other thing. And you just want to be ready to present your most authentic self in a relevant way in regards to what's going on in the world. So you want to be sensitive to what's going on in the world. You know, this was really true. I think all of us as marketers learned during COVID that when life changes for everyone, you don't just talk your rosy talk all the time. You make it relevant to what everyone's going through every day so that you can meet people where they are and what they're going through. That's super important. And if your goals are changing, and maybe they do, and your brand's going to shift, then so be it. But just be elegant with it. Be cognizant of your audience and take them with you. Don't make it so drastic that you lose them. Make sure they understand why you're going where you're going if you want to keep them with you. So just adapting to change and flow is really, really important. And just kind of end with rinse, repeat, shine regularly. So I have some examples here. I mentioned Lady Gaga before, but these are some examples of women who are really rocking their authenticity, right? I mean, Lady Gaga, I mean, she's got it dialed. She's fearless from the get-go. Anybody who can wear a dress made of salami is, in my book, just tops. So she really shouts creativity and over the top all the time. And we've come to expect that from her. At first, people were like so taken aback. And now it's like, I get upset if she's not wearing something like a meat dress. Diane Keaton, I think, is classic as well. Her essence is always wise and confident. And you always know it. She can rock a tuxedo with a tie and still be feminine and lovely. So I think she's a great example, especially of something that's a brand that's enduring. We've loved Diane Keaton for years and years and years, and she's been pretty darn consistent. Jane Goodall's another one. She's someone who, whenever you see her, what does she always have with her? An animal, and animals are her life. She lives to serve animals. She's all about service. And you see that in every photo and every conversation with her. She's supposedly never going to retire. I think she's in her late 80s and she's still doing everything she can. And finally, because today at this time when we're recording this fabulous Women Arising International Summit, it's the Queen 70th Jubilee. Talk about a woman who's got a brand, right? Her brand is strength, responsibility, grace, and you can be sure you never see the Queen unless she's showing all those things. She's built quite a brand around herself, as we all know. So before I've got a couple of closing slides, but before I go on, I just wanted to see if there's anything, Kathy or Zephy, that you wanted to share that came up during this conversation that you wanted to share, or thoughts or questions?
Yeah, no, I think it's really great about talking about finding that authenticity and just like even thinking about yourself in terms of how do you take that which is at your core and sort of share it in the most authentic and powerful way. Because I think you're talking a little bit about, and it made me think just, for my own self, what are these things? And something that struck me was like that part that I'm always maybe a little hiding, or maybe I'm not sure how to put into the world, that maybe that's the part that really needs to be put into the world the most. Like I really identified with that because I feel like and the dichotomy thing where it's like I have these different worlds that I'm navigating, and how do I find that thing that sort of combines it, and that I can really be that person in every situation and have that grounded, confident way to put that out there. So that was helpful for me.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, Kathy. Thank you for sharing. Steffi, anything from you? Oh, you have your mute on.
Kathy said it all. It was, that's what I was kind of thinking. How do you put all the different aspects within yourself to become one authentic self? Because we're not just one aspect of ourselves. We have many. Like I know about myself, I got many different aspects. So within the same spiritual path, but they're saying different ones, So it was beautiful the way it was put. So thank you.
And
go ahead.
I was going to say one more thing. It's like when somebody actually has that sense of knowing who they are and putting it out there in that authentic way, people gravitate towards them. And I actually have to give Zeffie a big compliment, because I actually think she's quite good at this. And I feel like people are really drawn to her a lot of the time because she knows who that is. She puts it out there very clearly, very confidently. And I've learned a lot about doing that from her as well as you, Dawn. You've been a great teacher for me over many, many years in this aspect of my life.
Right back at you, Kathy. Thank you. And yeah, just to comment on what you both said, because you both commented on having kind of multifacets to who you are. And I think that almost becomes a little bit of the brand that you put out there, right? That you are multifaceted. And because of that, you're more powerful. Maybe you're even more centered because you have a few directions to help center you instead of leaning too far one way. There's different ways to look at it and fun ways to play with it. But I think, therein lies your challenge, right? Is like to figure out how you kind of shine a light on all those different facets. Maybe it's not always balanced on all of them. It's kind of moves around a little bit, but I think there's real beauty and power in that. Like I don't consider myself a real good multitasker, for example. In fact, I'm horrible at it. So I try not, I like have to like find my space and stay there. But some people are better at kind of shifting and shape shifting, and there's power in that as well. But the important thing is bringing us back to this presentation is, when in doubt, tune into your source, tune into your root chakra, tune into your meditation, into your breath. And I love this photo of these trees because trees are, again, so powerful, right? And they're so grounded. And I, even just looking at these trees, I get a little bit overtaken with the power and the energy of the redwoods. I really lean on them as wise elders. And so they're great for meditation, great for grounding, and just tune in, close your eyes, sit with the trees and listen to your authentic self, and it'll tell you which direction you need to go. That's the beauty of it. So here's a little reminder and a little exercise for all of you. Remember that no one writes your authentic story except for yourself. You're responsible for your story. So it's a blank wall. So your brand story goes here. Write it yourself. The spotlight is waiting for you. It's going to be there. It's going to shine on you, especially if you're being authentic. and it's going to flourish. So use that blank wall as your best friend. And then I just had some closing words. I love this image of this woman dancing. She looks like she's definitely rocking her authentic self. So I encourage you all. I hope that you took from this what you were hoping for today. I hope it left you with a little bit of something exciting to think about moving forward and something to lean into. Not be afraid of your personal brand, but be authentic and lean into it and go forth and create from mad self-love. Dance forward, I say. Namaste. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Dawn, I'm going to have you stop sharing screen for just one moment.
Absolutely.
And, just to close, that was wonderful. We really appreciate just the clarity that you brought to this and sort of the joy, because I think a lot of the times, I don't know, if we feel like when we're in our spiritual selves or in our creative selves, like having to switch and market, there's some energy sometimes that feels kind of not so good about it, right? And this was a great reminder that it's coming from source. It's coming from our essence. It's coming from a real act of sharing who we are in the world. And then it's fun. Like, I like all the different hats.
Yes.
And like, just to shift our perspective around that, because I think it is a challenging thing. You know, I've struggled with it both as a theater artist trying to build businesses. I've struggled with it in, you know, my education background, and then, you know, trying to do our, you know, all of the new kind of ancient healing work that we're sending out there. So I think this is a really beautiful reminder of a whole different way to approach it. And I think it is really grounded in that divine feminine energy. So that's really powerful. And, you know, I'd love, Dawn, for you to also just let people know, you know, if they do want to reach out to you to be able to work with you or to continue this dialogue with you, how they might be able to do something like that.
Absolutely. I'll include all that in my follow-up materials. And I would love to work with all and any of you. So please do reach out. Even if you just have a question, I'm here for you.
And I think you're at theideaassembly.com. Is that correct?
I am. Thank you, Kathy. www.theideaassembly.com. Yeah,
Well,
that's where you
it
find
was
me.
a real treat to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeffie. Thank you, Kathy. It's been lovely to be here with you all.